I was obsessed. Like people wouldn't want to have conversations with me because the only thing that comes out of my mouth is Web3. Why don't people know about it? All right. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
why isn't everyone rushing to Web3? Like what's the problem? That was the
Yeah.
same year that I started 6 Hive. I mean, I saw like a lot of products. I saw some guys that did something very cool with like I was like, you know what? I should make this a full product. Right? I should take this idea I've gotten from this,
Yeah.
refine it, and yeah, and that was how I started. If you notice the way I said it, I basically said I started building it just because it was cool. Quickly down the line, I figured out that that's not the way it works. A lot of people liked it actually, but like
Yeah.
for you to become that product that is not I like to use the comparison. I like to use a vitamin pill and a painkiller. So
Mm.
if it's a painkiller, people will use it because
They
you may
need
not
it.
take your
Yeah.
vitamins every day, but if you have a headache
Yeah.
right now, you're looking for the next analgesic to take.
Yeah.
That is basically how I see products right now.
So I know you started a bit of products previously, and some of them worked, some of them did not work. And then you've been building pretty much a block reader as much as possible. So I wanted us to like roll from your journey and into the blockchain space. And if you can take us back to the early days and share a bit of
Okay.
what you started to do initially, and what actually drew your attention to the blockchain space. Because I know for many people it's very different things. I came in via NFTs. I'm so sorry. I saw the money and I jumped in. But people have their different reasons. So what was it for you?
Okay. So what actually got me into the Web3 space? I think it was like sheer
Yeah.
curiosity. So I came across some application. I'm trying to remember the name. It was a Ponzi scheme anyway. Someone shared it to me. The one where you just
Yeah.
put you keep like putting Ethereum and refer people. And so I looked at it and
Is
was
it for
like,
search?
okay, yes, that one exactly,
I
that
did
one.
it to
So
2020 during the lockdown.
yeah.
I did it too, bro.
So
Yeah, I did it. I can't
someone sent
forget.
it to me, and I looked at it. I was like, okay, this has like a lot of resemblance to Million Money. Is it Million Money? Oh, is that one? Something like
Yeah,
that. The Ponzi scheme. But then I looked at it. I was like, okay, this is very smart actually because now they're not having to use Naira, like they're using crypto. I was like, okay,
crypto. Yeah.
real use case. Then I just dug in. I didn't even invest in the Forsage thing, to be honest. I just started digging into. I started digging into, how does this thing work? Like how are these guys able to power
You
this
building the
thing with
products.
crypto? Exactly.
Wow.
And then I got all the way. I went down. I put in some money so that I can see the transaction hash, and then I had to like copy the transaction hash and find the contract, and then boom, I was like, you know what? I have to start writing contracts like this. Maybe not exactly
Wow.
like that, but like I was just so intrigued, and that was how it
Yeah.
started. And then from there, I started like learning about smart contracts and then about EVMs. Then I started getting myself more exposed to like you know decentralized and finance. And then there was the opportunities there. There was lending. There was like AMMs. I just got lost like that whole time. I was obsessed. Like people wouldn't want to have conversations with me because the only thing that comes out of my mouth is Web3. Yeah,
Wow.
it was quite an interesting phase of my life because like I was feeding my curiosity, with every single thing that it required. Okay.
Yeah.
So I from that stage started to now that I have seen the way these things work, I want to build something. I want to build
Mhm.
something of my own at this point. So I decided to go from there to, start experimenting, start building my own stuff. At the point, I was just trying out stuff, right? And then along the way,
Mhm.
I met my friends. So we decided to just, try out stuff. And then I built a couple of projects. NFT boom came, I got in there. I quickly got hired. Like I just found myself freelancing because like I'd already gotten like some experience. So I found myself developing
Yeah.
for like people who just wanted to launch collections and stuff.
Mhm.
It was quite an interesting phase for me. So I met my current co-founder, my CTO, Joshua, really cracked dev. So he increased like my development like speed from like this to this. So working with him was Yeah. So I started Blogverse, I think 2020 ending or 2021 ending. So the initial aim for that was, okay, I was like, this technology is so cool. Why don't people know about it? All right. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
why isn't everyone rushing to Web3? Like, what's the problem?
What's
But
stopping people
then
from doing it?
yeah, I couldn't really answer that. So I was like, you know what? I had I was in this Slack channel with some Web3 devs. Then I had this guy who was like, if you're in Nigeria, you should try to get Nigerians to get into Web3. So like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna start a
Mm-hmm.
community. You know, me with like my
Yeah.
very low social skills. I went out to start a community. So I named the community Blogverse, you know.
Wow.
Interesting. I had people come in there, and then I was like, obviously, I did
Mm-hmm.
everything wrong that period, right? Because like, people were mostly just interested in the money, and I was just there trying to like encourage learning. I started the blog, started writing about. Now the blog was actually called Blogverse. I was writing about, you know, blockchain, everything I was learning. I was just putting it on there. Yeah, and at some point when I started to like focus on like freelancing, I kind of left it for a while. And then
Yeah.
later on, when I wanted to like, pick on more jobs, do more things, I was like, you know what, I should actually go back and pick up that brand again.
Yeah.
Start just redefine it. So at that
Mm-hmm.
moment, I was like, you know what, Progress is not necessarily going to just be a community. It has to be a powerhouse of like products as much as I can build. So
Yeah.
that's how we started off, and then we went ahead, and the next year or there was in the next year, or the next 2 years, we incorporated it, and then we started like working, started looking for clients, started doing everything like on a much more official basis. That was the
Yeah.
same year that I started 6 5. I mean, I saw like a lot of products. I saw some guys that did something very cool with like tickets. I was like, you know what? I should make this a full product. Right? I should take this idea I've gotten from this,
Yeah.
refine it, and yeah, and that was how I started building 6 5. The journey for 6 5 was
Wow.
like a lot of first time for me. It was the first time building like a major product. It was my first time trying to raise capital. It was my first time creating a project that people used, first time.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of lessons I learned there. So if you notice the way I said it, I basically said I started building it just because that was cool. Quickly down the line, I figured out that that's not the way it works. Then again,
Yeah.
I did it
True.
anyway. And at the end of the day, the thing I thank God for is the experience it taught me. One, the
Yeah.
product was the idea for 6 Hive was an event ticketing system, but like powered by
Mm-hmm.
NFTs. So all the tickets are NFTs. And if they're
NFTs.
NFTs, yeah, we give the event creators the opportunity or the ability to earn all the revenue on their secondary markets. Because like the primary things that happen with tickets. People buy off all the tickets, sell them on secondary market.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
we're like, if
Makes
those things
noise.
are, yeah, if those things are trackable, we'll find ways to enforce the royalties in any secondary market. That was the whole aim.
Yeah.
And then we were like, okay,
It's cool.
yeah, like I mean, a lot of people liked it actually, but like
Yeah.
for you to become that product that is not I like to use the comparison. I like to use a vitamin pill and a painkiller. So
Mm.
if it's a painkiller, people will use it because they need it. You
They
you may
need
not
it.
take your
Yeah.
vitamins every day, but if you have a headache
Yeah.
right now, you're looking for the next analgesic.
Yeah.
That is basically how I see products right now. So as of that time, we were building a vitamin pill. It's cool. That's what it is.
Yeah.
It wasn't
Don't
any
supplement.
point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because like anyone could just go and use TikTok
Yeah.
Africa or use like those popular guys and they're good. Although some part of me feels like if I persevered, I would have gotten to a point. But then I
They
didn't
got
go
some
that far.
traction.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean I had like a couple of pilot projects. We had about 10 events on the platform. And a lot of them were free events. We had like I think 2 paid events. It was awesome. I was so happy. When I actually saw the, you know, in our fee
Yeah.
wallet or people pay for this, I was so happy. So,
Wow. Yeah.
it was good, and that was also the first time I tried raising capital as someone who has never done anything before. Trust me, I hadn't in this Web3 space, I've not had a job, I haven't worked for anyone apart from freelancing, maybe contracts or something like that. I haven't like worked
Yeah.
for any company. So a lot of people would think that okay, it's very necessary for you to get a job. I wanted to at some point, but then I found out that, okay, my own journey with this has led me to a path where I think I'm just supposed to figure things out and keep building stuff. Getting a job is not like it's not I wanted to at some point, but then again, I realized that maybe if I did at some certain points, it may have broken my my vision of what I wanted to do. So yeah. So at that point, and I think it also like kind of influenced the way I formed my team, because imagine trying to like form a team with like low capital, little to no capital, and you have people who are basically like looking up to you. It was the trenches, right? But like we
Yeah.
try to work our way up from there. So it's been quite right. So yeah, we tried raising money to offers here and there. Some of them were so wild, you know. People obviously like took me for like for the fact that I didn't have much experience and for the fact that I was considered young. I don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
But I was considered young. Yeah, those. Then I quickly learned what, you know, venture capital investing is about. I learned it by actually being in it, right? I learned, I won't say the hard way, but then yeah, I learned like, you know, business is business, regardless of anything. So
Yeah.
then there was also like the issue of like the product market fit of that product.
Mm-hmm.
As I said, it wasn't necessarily a painkiller, it was a
Yeah.
vitamin pill. So I quickly learned that we didn't necessarily have PMF in Africa because that's where I stay, that's where I live, right?
Yeah.
Maybe if I had gone to somewhere, maybe I was somewhere like New York or London or somewhere, you know, that appreciated maybe Dubai, they might have been some sort of,
Possibly.
I'd say, yeah, would have possibly found a way to like scale out of there. But like addressing like the current market needs, yeah, I had them. Those are gaps.
The truth is building a product from Africa, Nigeria back in 2021 stuff. That stuff, to be honest, because when even product as it is now in the entire crypto space, was not as developed at that time, generally across the world. When it comes to product and product development and UI and UX, we're in a much better time than we were like 2 years ago. So yes, I can definitely relate to you that 2021 would have been a very tough time to get PMF.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that time to
And
get
there
PMF.
was a lot of buzz going on. There was a lot of, you know, they were like real products and then there were Web3 products. No shit
Yeah,
to anyone, but like people were building companies out of things that were not feasible.
yeah,
And the
true.
other funny thing is that a lot of them got a lot of attention, right? So, yeah, these days now we can't account for many of those companies. But then again, out of what I kept learning. So so instead of that, then we focused on just building for people. This is like the point where we have to survive, we have to make money. We had to we had to keep the train rolling. So
Yeah,
yeah, like double down on business. How do we find clients? How do we work for clients? How do we hire? So we had to build all of that up again. And by God's grace, it did work out, right? It kept us, you know, stable for a while and gave us some room to experiment again. The next product was a byproduct of my obsession for just trying things out. So there was TAS we built that in 2023. The whole aim for TAS was to try to put real world assets on chain as easy as possible. So I had worked
yeah,
closely with like businesses, and I now realized that, you know what, a lot of these guys want to build like tokenization platforms, but like let's just give them a no code tokenization platform. You don't have to hire a whole new dev team. You don't have to do this. Let me just give you a dashboard. You do your legals, do your tokenization processes, you know, have like teams, bring in like legal devs, whatever, do your own front end. Everything that just has to do with integrations, right? You can just do everything from your dashboard.
yeah,
That's all you had to do. It sounds like a great idea because the first time I had the opportunity to like interact with some companies, some people who are very, very interested in that in Nigeria. People who had like maybe millions of dollars in assets and they are willing to like experiment real quick. And there was a roadblock that they hit like the SEC in Nigeria and everything. But that one became very slow. But then I was like, I still want to experiment this and see where it goes. I also now quickly realized that it wasn't a function of the technology, it was a function of business. And
yeah.
in all honesty to myself and my team, weren't there yet. Weren't there yet in the sense that we weren't able to make people who had millions of dollars in assets, pivot to using our platform. So we could have conversations, we could influence conversations, we could show them the way the tech works. But the actual business that has to happen before any of the entities are profitable is what like is a bit like very, very heavy BD where you funnel down this large the clients because your clients they're not single customers, they're companies, they're maybe
Yeah.
energy companies, construction companies, all those things. And yeah, we could have a conversation with like one or two persons and stuff like that, but how and then the next thing that someone would think it's yeah, you have to get like a BD manager, someone that is, embed with all these guys, right, and knows them very well. And you also now
Yeah.
quickly realize that, yeah, it also takes capital to have someone like that on the team. So, yeah, there's a lot of
Lots of bottlenecks.
exactly. I was very happy I
Yeah.
built that product because it was a very mind, boggling one because there were like a lot of
Mm.
angles we have to think from. Possible is it that I have a product, right? I have a real life asset, I have a house, and you want to tell me it's representable on chain. So we did like so much research. We have to like redefine our contracts. We did a lot of we have to like even start like delving into building custom stuff with oracles, all of that. It was exciting to build. But then when it came to the part where we had to scale, make money and all of that,
I mean,
so
SEC, even till now, this is 2025, by the way, is still a big issue, to be honest. So I don't want to imagine how it looked like in 2023, to be honest, particularly in my dear country, Nigeria. So yeah, it's a bottleneck.
actually,
I think SEC is probably one of the biggest bottleneck. There are many things that many people can do, even if they had the resources to funnel down the client. That tokenization process, I don't think Nigeria was open to blockchain as it is back then. As of now,
yeah,
I mean, in terms of government policy,
exactly. And
yeah,
that's another thing
it's
that
becoming
I
tough.
quickly learned, the market where I'm operating
Yeah,
in, there's different needs. I could have taken that
matters a lot.
solution, maybe I put it in the hands of someone else who lived in Europe or Asia or some other place, had the opportunity to
Asia were
scale.
very quick. Even the policy around tokenization in Europe is quite tough. Pliable, but
Mm,
tough, man. So yeah, I
yes.
mean, that's an incredible journey, and all of this now led to use as pretty much where we are right now.
Yeah, yeah.
Is that correct?
So
Or
yeah,
was there another
exactly.
product after
So most of the products that we had, there are a lot of them that we just experimented with, we just quickly build. And then we're like, you know what, we'll leave this. So in essence, we just, there are a lot of them that we confidently took out to public, and then there are a lot of them that were just left in the GitHub reposition. So, but then so we decided to think about, so we've been building like payments, so stablecoin payments stuff for a couple of clients in the past, and then we just quickly realized that there's an issue with adoption. A lot of these people they don't really speak to users. So we decided to start talking to
true.
users. We decided to start doing some research, like, what would you want to do? Ask the questions that needed to be asked. How do you want to spend your USDC? Why don't you like holding USDC? What would you like to hold? How do you like to? And then brought us down to even more it's opening like our mindset. So this time I didn't decide to just go ahead and build a product and then start finding users. I went to find the users first, find the
Yeah,
problem, and then build a solution for it. So kind of like reverse the process, and that's why
yeah,
things
process, yeah,
yeah, things was different this time. Just wanted to understand how people and why people, you build everything that you want to build. Because like there are quite a number of like good infrastructure around stablecoins in Nigeria, in
yeah,
Africa. And then you still find people doing P2P, you still find people, relying on cash, doing this and that and
yeah.
that. So I now decided to
That's
now
crazy.
do after thinking about that, I was like, okay, you know what? Let us build something that should potentially try to solve this problem. And we tried. The first time we tried building Azure, it was so difficult because I'm like, I insisted that we must build this on WhatsApp. And the WhatsApp for us was like the distribution channel and an onboarding
Yeah,
process. So you should access it very, very quickly without having to, go through a lot of steps, and then you should also be able to utilize it wherever you are. So that was
Awesome.
why we decided to like build it to WhatsApp. So it was like a no, it was like a no. I said if we're not doing this on WhatsApp to start with, then we're not doing it. So yeah, I basically like,
Your question there is
yeah,
one question there is when you look at current crypto options, you see there are many aside from POP, there are many other options. Like when we discussed earlier, you can tell that I use crypto payment systems a lot. Like I like to test things. Yesterday I used Onboard for the first time. I'd had the app for like I think 3 weeks. I've tried using it. It didn't work out. But yesterday I figured it out and it works for me. But Onboard is just one. There's Europay, I think if I'm pronouncing it well. There's WireX, which I've used as well. Yeah, there's also Paycrest. I think Paycrest have a product
no
as
block.
well. Yeah, no blocks. Yeah, exactly. And there are many others I'm probably forgetting their names now. In itself, why is it different? And then how did you kind of like conceptualize the product idea to build something that's quite, in my opinion, is very easily accessible to users?
Yeah, okay. So so yeah, as I said, right, what the focus for us was like the UX. I
Yeah.
wasn't trying to build another protocol. I wasn't trying to, because I've looked down, I'm like, these are very solid protocols that can power payments in Africa,
Yeah.
stablecoins, crypto, everything. So I was like, you know what, let's make it usable. So that's why
Mhm.
we decided to think a lot of, I asked myself, the first place I bought Bitcoin was through like an OTC person over WhatsApp,
Mm.
got some Bitcoin, got introduced to Luno back then, and then I
Yeah.
myself started selling Bitcoin to people, right?
Mm.
And that was how I was
Oh, wait,
doing
wait.
it.
You did P2P as well?
Yeah, I did this thing,
Yeah.
I think. That was like, so I was just using it to survive back then. I was like, you know what, you
That's
send me your
interesting.
address. And then I just talked to a lot of people. And trust me, even the OGs you know in the space, a lot of
Yeah.
people who build stuff and all of that have like so much money. They have vendors and they don't do it over WhatsApp. I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna go so far. I'm gonna meet my users where they are. That's why I talked about the distribution rail. My
Exactly.
users are
Yeah.
obviously on WhatsApp. So I'm gonna find them there,
Yeah.
take that experience that they are used to, and just automate the process.
Brilliant.
So
Yeah.
that was like what I thought about. I wasn't trying to make it so, I wasn't trying to do something different. I'm just like, okay, you know what? Before I start thinking in that level, let me lower the barrier of entry for people. It's this high, let's
Mhm.
make it down. So that's basically how I thought about it. And
When I think about it, I'd say that, sorry about that. When I think about it, I'd say that back in the day, before Binance became a thing, it was really on WhatsApp, to be honest. Like I used to have 3, 4, 5 vendors that I'll look at their rates and I'll compare it if I even make it.
actually,
Like,
sometimes you have to
yeah,
be,
true,
if they are
true,
sick,
yeah,
good luck.
yeah. Now that part used to be very, very hot. And sometimes you can start the conversation and it's going well, and for some reason they don't respond when it's time to make the transfer, or they say they've sent the money and you're waiting for hours. But everything happened on WhatsApp and it was very seamless.
Yeah.
So I think it's very, I think when you say meeting your users where they are, I feel that's why it feels quite like I'm at home using user. It feels like doing
Yeah.
doing the things I'm used to doing before, like copy wallet address, paste it. It was very
Actually.
interesting back then, to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah, that's how we thought about it. And then we decided to now start building. So the first version that we built, it wasn't called it wasn't called Azure by then, it was called BlockPal. So that was just like
Block
some name
power.
we just put no block like BLOCPAL, like the SEO was Bosch because like a lot of people already had that name. And
Yeah.
I mean there was no swag to it. But then again, we built it. It was very tacky the first time, and then we had to go back, spend a few more weeks, few more months to rebuild it, right? And by God's grace, we were able to, come up with like something very usable. At least I remember we launched like the first time we started beta testing. We had our beta test out was like I think in the month of August last year. And then fast forward to December, we started another, like we launched like with the on our offline platform, right? When we now had like more users come in and start using it. And yeah, it's been like, up from there because we've been taking feedback, we've been rebuilding, we've just been making sure that we're listening to our users because like they're the ones that point us in the direction that we should be going.
Yeah.
That's what it's been so far for us.
Interesting. What's the experience during the beta testing? How often did you guys had to iterate, change a couple of things? There was a bug and something happened. You said it was tacky. Like how tacky? How bad was
Just
it?
in
Like
the just in we're grinding every day because like there was almost no break. Like we were always on it. Even up till now. Just that right now we've just been able to like double down on making sure things are automated. We're still in beta, right? We've not even launched out of beta. But like that process was basically I don't think our beta testing has ended yet because we've not done like an official launch. But then it doesn't even seem to people that way because it
okay,
feels like we have launched and we've been in business the whole time. And
that's what it feels like. Yeah.
yeah, and it's okay. Like I'm not even complaining. Like I don't care if we're in beta or
Yeah.
not. So what matters to me is we're building something that people are using and see value in.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
um
True. True.
so for the process, it was painfully exciting. That's the word I'll use. And it was
Okay.
exciting because like we found people giving us very, very raw feedback. You know, they weren't caring if they weren't trying to rub us on the back. They're like, oh, this is like it's then it's and then would you see like we had like our workspace, we had this very big board. Would write down a lot of things and then we just like sort them, then work on them like night after night. We're like rolling out fixes, rolling out features. If we're overwhelmed, maybe by traffic or by request or like by account creation, we just sit down there and solve the problems. We do have
Mm.
like a workspace. We have like a hacker house in Lagos, where most of us stay around. Yeah, we don't really wait for, oh, let's get on a call and do this. We're like, guys, let's sit down and get this off the table right now. No, it's no
Yeah.
time to waste. So that was basically what it was. And I was, even as much as sometimes it could be sleepless night before it was work, I was excited doing it. I'm still excited doing it because it happens time after time.
Yeah.
Right. So I wouldn't say it was difficult. Yeah, it is a difficult process, but then I don't mind the difficulty so far as I'm delivering on the value that I promised.
Good. Awesome. Building products, I think of any scale, no matter how small or big it is, and no matter how much skill the product tends to get, I do believe it's tough. I do believe it's a tough process. And it takes courage to do it, to be honest.
Actually,
Well, not just courage as well. Because I read a lot and I see many founders, particularly on Y Combinator, talking about very good mindset as well. From your own point of view, what kind of mindset do you think was important to actually you actually had to rely on all through the process to build products that solve problems? Because when you really look at it, as much as Sticky Hive did in scale, it was trying to solve a problem, to be honest. Same with Stars as well. We might
yeah.
call it cool, but just that PMF and geographic policy might not be in favor of products, but they were in it in themselves trying to solve problems. So what kind of mindset do you think is very important in building products that solve real problems and products that actually resonate with the audience?
Yeah, so I think it's just the mindset though. It has to be a very positive mindset because there are already like a lot of negative reasons why you shouldn't push through. And then there should be that persistence. In fact, like, I think we should call it stubbornness. So it has to be, you just have to be stubborn about the problem, right? Solutions could take different forms, but I think the goal has to remain the same. Because I think for I and my team, we've
Incredible.
been focused on shipping usable products. We've tried, we've not really gotten it right, and then it seems like we're getting it right this time. And the mindset we have right now is even if something should happen and Hazard doesn't get to that level we think it's going to get to, that's
Mhm.
fine. We're just going to take our loss, take our lessons rather, and try again until it
Incredible.
works. Yeah.
You
And,
can take lessons, not losses.
exactly. I'm not gonna say because of this, I'm just gonna stop. Nah, I'm not
Yeah,
gonna do that. Yeah, that's like the whole goal for me right now is just to make sure that things that I want to do, things I want to work on, be like work, like regardless of how it's just that persistence. So that's what is driving me, and that's like the mindset I feel like
incredible.
anybody who's trying to build a solution to solve a problem in this space adapt. So there's
Um,
always issues to combat, but that mindset will keep you going.
the mindset of being stubborn. Yeah, mindset of being stubborn. You said something that it was a phrase in a sentence where you're talking when you say like, even though Asa doesn't get to where you think it will get to, you can continue building. What levels do you think Asa is kind of like going to get to? Like how far and how far do you think the scale is going to look like?
Okay. So I'm going to tell you as far as I can see, right?
Yeah,
Um, the goal here for us is basically to make stablecoin payments very, very accessible, especially in this part of the world, right?
yeah,
This might be our solution, but in the next 1 year, we might have something fresh to offer people, right? Depending
true.
on what we've
Yeah,
learned. The ethos or the North Star for us is like making easy UX to crypto, like real adoption, real utility in Africa, where you see it solving a major problem that relates to people. So tomorrow we could build any other thing, add it to
mm,
as a, we might not necessarily be on WhatsApp, we might not necessarily, but then there's just
mm-hmm.
going to be the same ease of use that we see, you can see in this current product we built right now. You're definitely going to see it across every other solution offering that comes out. So that's how we
Incredible.
see it. Yeah.
Uh, when you're talking, you just kind of like struck me like being able to build
Yeah.
other products that solve other problems. But I know from working and building products as well is that when you're building products that solve problems, you start from ideation. Yeah, you
Yes.
usually start from an idea. Like, can you walk me through what's the process like for you from idea to fleshing it out, going over it over time, and then to now thinking, okay, this can work. How does it usually look like for you?
Okay, so for me, it's usually it used to be ideation, right? But I think what I try to now do now is research. I think ideation research
Okay.
is part of ideation, but I also try to do user
Yeah.
research. So the ideation process at the beginning helps me find out who do I, and then I now go ahead and speak to. Then I now know what their problems are before I can flesh it out as a full problem that I'm trying to solve. And then that problem now
Mm,
informs any way I call it as a solution. So that's it. I do like the user research, then go ahead to like find the solution. And that's how I think I usually like, come up with these things. And then one thing I'm grateful about my team is we have that speed when it comes to experimenting.
experimenting.
So
Yeah. Mm,
if we say this can work, we just need like a week to hack out something that is testable in the market. Then once we're able to put something out there and we see the way people react to it, we can now keep refining. So
mm,
that's like the way it is, and that's synergy like between bringing out the ideas and being able to like push them out as fast as possible to basically
yeah.
like satisfy our curiosity. It's one thing that usually helps us a lot.
Yeah.
It's also part of like the stages where we really get to learn stuff because sometimes we build things, we test them out, and then we're like, no, we're not going ahead with this, this doesn't work. But one thing
Yeah.
that's very, very critical for us is user research.
Good. I think that's a huge point there. User research, and usually I know it can come from different ways. It can come from surveys. It can come from one-on-one. It can come from there's this stuff people do where you bring a cluster of people together and then you kind of work with them, try to get their feedback and whatnot. So yeah, I think that's very insightful in my opinion. One thing I was going to ask, well, which is one question I came up with when I was stalking your Twitter. Yeah, I did stalk your Twitter for a long time. Is that when you talked about distribution, you mentioned that you talked about the importance of distribution in Africa, and I'm not sure whether you're talking about it in relation to users or just generally speaking. I wanted to talk more about that. Like, why is product distribution very important, and how have you kind of like approached it in how you build and trying to do marketing for users currently?
Okay. Yeah, distribution. So I started to think not like I changed my mindset from thinking like a software engineer to like an entrepreneur, like a builder.
Mm,
So a lot of people who jump into writing code and then when they're done, they're now like, oh wow, people are using this stuff because it's so awesome.
yeah.
It's a problem that all of us face, right? And
Mm-hmm.
just quickly realized that like the first, like if you want to look at like a product roadmap, the first thing you should consider is the problem you're trying to solve and
Yeah.
then your solution. And then how do you get the solutions into the hands of people that is intended for? So that's where like distribution comes in. And it really, really matters. So I'm like, there's a lot of great products out there, but we don't really get to use them. We don't really know them. And it's a problem, right? So thinking about it, I'm not a marketer. Neither is maybe anyone on my team. Marketer. But then we decided to just think about these things, right? Let us relate to our users as in the best way we can. There's something unique about, I wouldn't say it's unique though, but like there's something about my team and almost everyone is involved in engineering. Almost everyone is involved in marketing. Almost everyone is involved in customer relations and customer care. So it's an all hands on deck situation. I
That's
don't
nice.
care if you are the chief engineer. When we're having sprints on marketing, all hands on deck. When it comes to the technical stuff, all hands on deck. When it comes to design configurations, all hands on deck, like UX and everything. So
Yeah.
that's putting that together, we are able to bring out ideas and we're like, so for context, right? The traction we've had so far, we've not spent any money on marketing, we've not paid for ads, we've not done any that, okay, apart from the I think we did a thread contest at some point on Super Team. Apart from that, we haven't spent $1 on marketing. And we've been able to get everything you're seeing is very, very organic. And this is just because we've decided to find innovative ways to relate to our users very, very closely, right? Make them feel like our beta testing group. We make everyone feel like they are part of the building process. We give reports on what we've done so far. We put
Yeah.
polls. What do you guys want to see next? All these kind of things are very, just little steps that we've taken towards making sure that we can distribute put these products in the hands of users efficiently and do it in a way that we don't need to like spend a lot of resources doing it. So that's why I was also saying that like, when like protocols are built, they need efficient distribution strategies. That it's a B2B, you need to find those products that can effectively deliver to your end users, which are like the customers themselves, right? And then if it's a B2C product, you also need to find ways to, instead of throwing ads around, you have to find innovative ways to make sure that the users, and I don't have the solution. Was just putting my mind on Twitter, right? I don't have the solution. I'm just saying that I we're experimenting every day in other like we're just trying out stuff. So I mean maybe I should have phrased my tweets better. So maybe I'd have asked people for ideas. I guess I'm going to do that. Yeah.
And I think that's
That's
interesting. And because when we really look at how much work has gone into users and how far you guys have come, the kind of growth you guys are currently experiencing, one would think that you guys are not working with a marketing agency that is doing all of the nice thingy, and then there's this massive traction, massive social media activity and whatnot. But I do think that stacking up all of the things you guys have worked on over time, from the initial testing, access to community, it's been a huge role. I'll be honest. Also down to the fact that the product solves problem. We try to underestimate that fact, but I think that plays a huge role, to be honest. But what about competition? Because you also talked about competition being very important in business and generally for builders in Africa. Me generally, when I saw the tweet, I was like, are you serious? But what's your thought about that? Because I tend to have a very different opinion about competition. I do think when you look at products in Africa, which is one of the reasons why we started the founders show on Web3 GM, is that I do think that there's a need for more collaboration and more integration on a protocol level, as opposed to outright head-to-head 1v1 competition. What's your thought about that?
okay. I think we share the same view. So on that tweet, I did say competition. I said competition.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a bit different. I didn't say so competition is basically,
Yeah.
you're cooperating even though
Yeah.
you're like in the same space, then there's cooperation. It's like a healthy competition. So it's not the kind of there's not chain wars here, right? It's like making sure that you're you're able to, you see like, I mean, this was my mindset. I see a product that is doing what I'm doing, playing in the same space as I'm playing. My idea shouldn't be to outwit this person per se, but then we should look for corridors or ways that we can join forces and
True.
roll out products.
That's it.
Yeah, we look for those gaps that we can combine our efforts and fill up. So there's a lot, right, in this space, and there's a lot of conversation because like a lot of products are in payments, a lot of products are in on and off ramps, you know. A lot of
Yeah.
people are doing similar stuff. But then if we don't all work together, it's going to be quite difficult to try to solve that existing problem. I know the funny thing is like a lot of people who build like successful products in the past that all seem like competition. They are all friends, and that is not by chance. That's because like one time or the other, they have both worked out business plans. They've both done, made decisions and made sure that they're able to work together. So I'm like, we can afford. I was trying to like look at because I think that week I made that tweet. There was just so much weirdness going on in
Chain
the
wars,
Web3
like
space.
yeah.
Just
I think
so
particularly on CTNG, usually it's usually very tiring. I'm on the product level, I'm proud of the amazing people building, generally speaking.
yeah,
But when it comes to community and the mindset to I think integrate and collaborate and build and scale together, I do think there's a lot of work to be done on that end.
exactly. So I just put it out there. I'm like, we need to be, cooperating. We need to work together.
I agree. It read like
That's it.
competition.
Either
It read
ways,
like competition.
either ways, it works. Yeah.
I mean, for people who are watching the episode, users is pretty much an interesting, it's it's difficult to even call it P2P because it doesn't feel like one. But it's a fintech product, generally speaking. It's a brilliant crypto or Web3 blockchain fintech product, allowing users like me to offer products, particularly stable coins, to, I think currently there's just three currencies. There's Naira, there's South African Rand, I guess.
And
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's an incredible product, and it was built by Toochukwu here. An incredible founder with an incredible story, and it's generally been an exciting experience having to actually share the stage with you, talk about users, talk about your journey, talk about your ideas, some of your strong beliefs on taking lessons rather than taking losses, taking your L so rather than losses. L can also be lessons, generally speaking. So for me, it's exciting. I'm looking forward to when you start raising funds. Hopefully we get you. Hopefully you'll not be too busy by that time. We'll get you back on the podcast. Talk about more of what you've been able to do with users. But on a personal level, it's been an incredible conversation. I was really glad to actually have you here today.
same here.
Yeah. On a side note, though,
Bro.
one question before you run away. So you remember, think about that Toochukwu when you started Tick Hive, like that morning where you're like, you know what, let's do this. Let's fucking go. That morning, yeah. So think about that Toochukwu. From this point, actually, it's kind of like retrospective. That's the English. Advice would you give to that guy who is a new founder, who is buzzing? He just had an idea in the bathroom, like he's excited. He wants to get on his PC. He wants to start building. It's taking you a long time to get to this point. But what advice would you give to him that could help him actually cut the process short, still work his own work, and everybody has to go through their own journey, but would be very helpful to him to build something much faster?
But I think the most primary ones is to do more idea validation, right? And also pay attention to business. Pay very close attention to
Powerful.
business. Apart from the numerous other ones, these are like the major ones I would say. I would tell him,
Idea validation and pay attention to business.
exactly.
Powerful. Yeah. I'll take the advice as well. I'll keep it close.